All right, Chuck Boutal here. We're at Bolden's Hydro Lab in Noblesville, Indiana, and basically we're finishing up our CDS. This is a little bit of sections on book pack out, and we've got Alex here with us, one of the guys in the class. Had a few extra questions about books, so what do you need to know, Alex?
Well, my first question was, how do we help the property owner determine which items to freeze dry?
I gotcha. One of the things that goes with it is when it's paper. The most important thing to do is determine whether or not it happens to be a book that has your typical flat sheen paper in it, so it's a normal paper that has no emulsion on it. These books can be dried very easily. When you have a book like this Jacques Cousteau with the whales, this happens to have a coated paper, or when you feel it, it's a little smoother. It has a anywhere from a glossy to a semi-gloss finish on it. This particular type of book, the problem with it is these pages could adhere to each other. So what we have to actually do is leaf in literally a piece of paper in between every page. So these books get considerably more expensive to restore. So one of the questions we have to the homeowner is exactly how much is this book? Does it have a lot of sentimental value to it? Is there something special about it? Or can we look up online and determine that we can buy another one for full replacement? So instead of getting a reprocessed book, they're getting another brand new one for less money. It's one of the things we're looking at. Also, when it comes down to it, many people have attachments to magazine collections and whatnot. Again, best thing to do is go online, search for replacement magazine collections, because many times they're much less expensive to reacquire than it is to dry. So, excellent question.
And then why do we choose the freeze-dry process?
Freeze drying is a little different than what most people think of, which is the desiccant drying or high temperature refrigerant drying of books. When the freeze drying process works, what happens is this book will be wet. When we package it in the box, in our freezer paper, and then put into the box, this box is then shipped and frozen during shipment. And what will happen to it is it arrests any ink running, any type of mold formation, any type of contamination growing on the book. So it freezes it literally in time, if you will. And the process we use is sublimation. When we use the vacuum freeze drying process, the book actually goes from a frozen state, so the water is frozen solid in the book, not causing any more damage to the book. And it does, by sublimation, it goes directly from an ice to a gas format. So at that point in time, the book is never re-wetted. So therefore, it suffers no more water damage. Whereas when you're doing a desiccant drying or whatnot, the book again will be thawed, and then it gets wet again technically, and then what happens is we have to dry it. So there's another pass through that liquid stage that can cause further degradation to the book or the binding. Okay. So this is the preferred method.
When a book is saturated, whether or not it's saturated just a little bit or a lot, how does that affect the freeze drying process?
The more water the book has in it, obviously is going to take a little bit more time in the vacuum freeze dry chamber. When it comes down to it, cost wise though, we pretty much go by cost per cubic foot. The only true thing that changes the cost is if there's contamination on the book. So if it happens to be immersed in sewer water, or it has some type of mold or other type of contaminants on it, that would add to the cost. But whether it's completely saturated or whether it's just damp wet, basically the cost is going to be the same. The drying time varies a little bit, between maybe 5 to 7 days, but when it comes down to it, the process is pretty much exactly the same.